Hello, I'm Garner Mayor Ronnie Williams. We're here today for another episode of the show that we call Great People in Garner. With us today is Garner activist, community activist, and longtime resident Helen Phillips. Miss Phillips, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Your family relocated from the community of Hayti.
Yes.
What made you come to Garner?
My daddy died in 1947, and my Uncle Jerry came down and he said he didn't want me and Mama to stay out there in the country by ourselves. So this was his property. This was a 5-acre stretch, so he stepped off us a little lot, as people used to do, didn't run nothing then, and built a 4-room house. It wasn't underpinned when we moved here in 48, and it had, didn't have a porch. It was just straight up. But we were glad to come out of Hayti and come to Garner.
Your earliest memories of Garner, if you can remember back. I know you're getting old, but if you can remember back.
Well, I can remember coming to Garner in the mule and buggy and the mule and wagon days. We had to come to Garner to get groceries because there was Henry Bryant's grocery store, Tom Broughton's grocery store, Ken Mitchell's paint shop, and Bryant Buffalo's tool shop, and John Williams sold shoes. And that's where I had to get my shoes. And we had to come to Garner to see Dr. Buffalo go up them steps. If you had a cold, he'd go up them steps and he'd give you a penicillin shot. So that's why we came to Garner, and that's my remembrance of Garner.
During the era of segregation, what was it like in Garner?
I didn't notice that too much because I wasn't really familiar with that too much. When I really started paying attention to what was going on around me is when I looked on the TV after we got up here and saw them sicking the dogs on Martin Luther King, spraying them with the hose, and not letting the black people go to the town hall to vote.
During the 60s and 70s, did the race relations change in Garner? You know the Jim Crow thing that happened about that time too?
Well, there's two things I remember. Toot and Tell It and Green's Grill. Black people could not go in and sit down and eat like they can now. You had to go to the window, order your food.
To the back door.
Huh?
You actually went to the back door at Green's Grill.
Yeah, go to the back door and order your food and they'd bring it to the window.
Okay, you and your husband, Graham, raised 8 kids.
Yep.
Tell us about raising that many kids. Must have been a struggle, but where are they now and how are they doing?
Well, it was a struggle, but we worked hard. He was a painter by trade, and he painted for the Kellys, Ralph Kelly, Sherman Jurgen, Cam Jurgen, and Mr. Lon Jurgen. And I worked, after we got married, I worked domestic work here in the town of Garner for the Franks, the Tallies, and the Woodards, and Mrs. Nash.
You've already mentioned the fact you worked many years doing domestic work.
Yes, I did.
At a point in time, you made the decision to get away from domestic work and get into
Yes, I did.
Somebody had a retirement system.
Yeah, well, I was working for the Tallies when I made that decision. And I gave her a 2 weeks notice. I said, Miss Talley, I'm getting ready to go to the school system where I will get some retirement and some Social Security. She said, well, we can pay Social Security. I said, but you can't pay retirement. So I'm giving you a 2 weeks notice. I'm going to start working at Hugh Morrison School. And I worked there 1 year. But Watson Seafood was paying $1 an hour. I was only making $47.50 every 2 weeks at Hugh Morrison School at that time. And one of the girls told me, she said, you know what? Watson Seafood is paying $1 an hour, and that sounded good to me, so I left Hugh Morrison. But I went back to the school system in about 7 or 8 years from then.
We skipped over talking about the children. Talk about them individually. Where are they and how are they doing?
They're doing fine. Rose is retired. She's a retired licensed cosmetologist, but she still works for 3 funeral homes when they need her. George, deceased now, he was the owner of Eastern Maintenance. Kenny retired from the U.S. Army and now working at Bethesda in Washington, D.C. Gordon retired from the U.S. Army and retired from the post office. Audrey works for the state government. Trent is owner of a baseball academy, and he also builds big websites for big companies. Jerry is a manager at the correction department in Clinton over the inmates that do the laundry. He's a manager over there. Sherry works for a pharmaceutical company in Wilson.
You have long been known, even as I was growing up in Garner, I knew who Helen Phillips was because you made yourself become a community activist. Why?
I didn't know I was a community activist.
Well, that's what they told me. I kept hearing your name. Well, you remember this discussion we had about the sidewalks?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was after I realized I had made a mistake by not going on to school, getting an education. So I said, I got to do the next best thing. My mama said, if you're going to be a floor sweeper, sweep it good. And after I saw what was happening to Martin Luther King, and he died and got beat up so we could go and vote. So I said to myself, no matter what, I'm going to speak out for my people regardless. Whatever I think we need in this area, I'm going to the proper people and make myself known and let them know how I feel.
And that included sidewalks. Tell that story.
That includes the sidewalks. And you know, Mayor, when we moved up here, there was some deep ditches on this side of the road. It was so deep, that's where Gordon got a lot of whoopings by going to the store down there when the store was open, walking in them deep ditches. And I brought it to the town's attention, but they said it was a state-supported road. Somebody gave me the address, the telephone number, and I called them and told them, I said, it's a wonder somebody don't have a wreck and run off in those deep ditches. And they came and filled them. The State Department come and filled them. Then when I was talking over at Town Hall about sidewalks, because we really didn't have nowhere to walk. The little side was about like that, and you couldn't walk on the highway. And I would get the word, it's a state-supported road. Garner doesn't have anything to do with it. So I called I got his number, called him, and he said, Ms. Phillips, it will be a long time. We just don't have the funds to put sidewalks. It's not for us to put sidewalks down there. The people from the town of Garner could do that. So I came to Town Hall. And
But you told me you would probably be dead before there was sidewalks out there. It didn't work out that way because you kept running.
No.
You kept running your mouth, and we heard you.
Yeah. But you know what? I was talking to Mayor Robar, and I said, you know, there's so much traffic on New Rand Road. He said, Miss Phillips, that's going to change one day. And he said maybe about 2012 or 2010 or something like that, we're going to do an extension. And at that time, it sounded a long ways off. And he said to me, I said, well, I'll be dead and gone. Then he said to me, you won't, but I probably will. At that time, I didn't know he was sick. So we got the extension.
You were instrumental and part of the committee that put together the Martin Luther King celebration.
Well,
talk about that, and you know, we were on the front page of the New Observer for our ceremony this time.
Yeah.
Talk about that and tell the viewers why it's important that we continue to do that.
Because Martin Luther King, he was a God-sent man, And just like they did God back in the day, they stoned him, they hung him high, they pushed him in the side, and he died. And the third day he rose. Martin Luther King didn't rise, but he left his legacy here for us to follow.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
He paved the way for the minorities, and not only minorities, white people too. He wanted everybody to get along and try to understand each other. So I just think, a person asked me what I thought about it. Mr. Mayor, can I use your name? You asked me what I thought about it, and what did I tell you?
I'll tell the viewers. You tell the viewers.
Well, I told you, I said, Mr. Mayor, we will work with you the best we can. I said, do you know what you're getting yourself in? And so we've been working, and every one we have, it gets better and better.
I agree with you. Okay, there's been several events around this country in recent times that have caused a racial divide. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. How do you think the race relations are in Garner?
Well,
overall?
I can't remember having a racist relationship here in the town of Garner, although I know it's here. But just one time, maybe a couple of years ago, something came up about a lady and a dog, and if that had continued, it would have been real bad news for the town of Garner. But I know two people that nipped that in the bud. Can I call your name? The mayor of Garner, Mayor Ronnie Williams, and the chief of police nipped that in the bud, and I haven't heard anything else about it. But if it kept on, if we hadn't went over to the police department and met with the chief of police and Mayor Williams was with us, it could have been a mess. And I appreciate you, because I didn't like that.
I understand. And as you put it, we nipped it in the bud.
It nipped it in the bud.
Okay, let's put our another thinking cap on it. 10 years down the road, how do you see Garner?
Well, you know what? 10 years down the road, I won't be here, but I would hope, the younger generation will see Garner grow, have stores, cafeterias, like the one in Cary and over in Cameron Village, where you can see the food as you walk down the aisle. That's what I like to do, but I won't be here, but I want that for the young people. I want to see Garner just grow and with plants and things where people won't have to go out of town
Jobs.
To work. Now you take my daughter Sherry, she drives to Wilson every day, pharmaceutical company. Jerry drives to Clinton every day. I'm hoping one day Garner will get a pharmaceutical company and get other plants where people can work and make a decent living.
Ms. Phillips, there's a fairly new group of community citizens in Garner, the Garner Concerned Citizens United. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the work they're doing, how they're bringing people together.
Well, as you know, we were united here on New Rand Road. We met up at Mr. Willie Gray's house once a month. And we were just putting all our attention right here on New Rand Road, Rand Mill Road. So I came up with the idea, I asked Wilma what she thought about it. I said, let's broaden this thing out. Let's get off of New Rand Road and get out in the community and see if we can get some people to join so we can get a idea of some of the things that's going on here in the town of Garner and go to town hall and express our ideas about different things and see what we can learn and see what they will help us do. And Wilma said, okay, we'll do it. But that one went down. Some didn't want to expand, and we did, and so it's fine. It worked out fine, and I love it.
Okay, involvement by our citizens have always usually end up in a good thing. Mm-hmm. What issues or what can be done by concerned citizens this day and age to improve quality of life in Garner?
Well, one of the things, not only our concerned citizens united, and they have worked with the people that's running for different boards. We had a meeting over at Red Street, you were there. Ask them questions. What are they gonna do if they get elected to the office? What benefit will we receive from that? Mayor Williams, I've been watching the voting and all that kind of stuff for years. And all of my life, after Martin Luther King, and they put out the song, Free at Last, we're not free. We got a long ways to go. I saw that in this election. I have never in my life, my whole life, as long as I've been watching the elections, seen so much bitterness and hatefulness. And I just didn't know people despise the minorities like they did. I just be frank with you. It's just not right.
But I mean, you will admit we made some progress, but
we made some
more
progress.
work to be done.
Yeah, we made some progress. I'm just glad to be a part of Garner and see Garner grow. Because when I came to Garner, we didn't have nothing but Carolina Moon, Toot and Tell It, Green's Grill, Wimpy Williams. That's all we had. And the post office, Mr. Guy Penn in post office, which I used to work for them. One I didn't work for you one time.
Maybe you did. Miss Phillips, among the things I can remember was always seeing you at the polling places campaigning for somebody.
Oh, yes.
You did. Tell us about that, why you did it. You did it for years, and all of a sudden, age caught up with you or something.
Yeah, and I had to stop.
You sort of retired.
Yes, I did. I loved it. You know, I love people. I've never met a stranger. Never, black or white. If you look at me, and I'm gonna start talking to you. And I can tell if you don't want to be bothered. I can cut it off. I can turn it on and I can cut it off. But I just have never met a stranger. And when I had the opportunity to do that, Jackie John's mama, Miss Landis, and Lizzie Hilliard told me over at the fire department, you know, when we worked over there, we voted over there, they said, we are getting too old to do this. You can do this. I said, no, I can't. And they said, oh, yes, you can. You can be a poll greeter. And they said, you have the personality. And Miss Landis told me, she said, now, when you see the people coming up, getting ready to go, you go with a smile and ask them would they vote for this particular person. I think they'll do a good job, and they might snap you up and everything, but just look at them and smile and say you have a nice day. I've stood out in the rain with an umbrella, boots, and a raincoat, and my husband was fussing. You're going to have arthritis so bad, standing out there in the rain with all that stuff on. I said, you just bring me some hot coffee and a sandwich and just leave me alone. I loved it. I worked out there in the rain for you, Bob Etridge, Miss, what's her name, Miss Ross. Just so many people. I can't call all the people's names to that. And I loved it because I love people. I love to meet people.
But if memory serves me, the candidates that you worked for, just like Lizzie Hilliard, always won. That's pretty fair. It's pretty fair, ain't it?
Well.
Have you ever worked for a loser?
Well, I wanted them to win. That's why I got out there in the rain. I wanted them to win.
It's a 13-hour day, and that's a sacrifice.
I'm telling you, I have stayed out there most of the time. When I was a little younger, I'd stay out there all day. I'd see Graham come in with a little sandwich and some water or some tea or something. He said, well, you gonna stay here all day? I said, I'm gonna stay until until the polls close. And then I'll get you come pick me up. I said, the close at 7:30. You come pick me up.
Let me ask you this. Television has changed.
Oh, yes.
There's a whole lot more on television than we used to see. Is that not a good thing?
Mayor Williams, I like to see what's going on. I'm nosy. The paper and the television, somebody said, but you can't believe everything you see on TV. You can't believe everything you see in the paper. But I have found out over a period of years, most of it is true. And I think reason the people said that is because they know there was some dark shadows that people couldn't believe. I've seen some things on TV and read some things in the paper, and I'm thinking, I can't believe that person would do that or say that. Don't they have no fear in their heart? Don't they know one day they got to give an account of all the different things that they did, the mean things they said about people, and not working with people, just being hateful and bitter? Just like the march around the legislative building. Mr. Barber and his group, they said they were wrong, but then Martin Luther King marched. He got put in jail. He got spit on, all that. So if they don't do the right thing by the minority, somebody got to let them know that they're not stupid. We know what's going on. And I can't do it, but I admire them for doing it because it's the right thing to do. We have a right. Martin Luther King died
Protected, right?
to protect us so we could vote. But look this year what happened. They cut their voting days down. They did. I was told by a friend she was going to vote at one place where she had been voting. When she got there, she didn't see no sign, she didn't see no car, she didn't see nobody. She saw this white man sitting in the car. So he said, Miss, this is where I've been voting for years. She said, me too. He said, well, somebody come by and said, they're not voting here anymore. And so she called the Board of Election and gave her name and address, and they told her, said, you have to go to Cary to vote. She said, well, nobody called me. Wrote me a letter and thing, told me my precinct was closed. When she went to Cary to vote, when she got in there to vote, she had got her ballot, and she looked behind her. The polls were closed at 7:30. There was about 200 people
Waiting in line.
in the place to vote. They said if you're there when the polls close, you can vote. They did not get the opportunity to vote. Some were Hispanics and most of them were black. They were told, I'm sorry, you cannot vote because this is not your precinct. And that's one of the things, it ought to be started right now. Folks need to find out what precinct they are in so that won't happen no more. I think it's a shame and a disgrace what has happened this year.
Now, Wake Baptist Grove is your church.
Yes.
Is that a pretty good group?
Yes,
They're
yes.
what, 140-something years old, is that right?
147 years old. Mm-hmm. And I was baptized in the little pool up there in the Stone Church at the age of 12.
Beside Tootin' Tell It,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
at the age of 12. But there's a lot of old-time citizens there, and it's still the churches, and you got a great new pastor.
We got a great new pastor, great, he is great. And his theme was moving Wake Baptist forward. I was in a play not too long ago, and I was supposed to be in the dumb one who could not understand why we changed from the old way and moved forward. I had on my wig, I had on a big old wig, a big old hat, and I was dressed up. But at the end, I was just fussing because he was talking about moving forward. And I wanted things to stay as they was. That was in the play. I was supposed to play that part. But at the end, I told Reverend Clanton, the deacons, and the church members, I understood what they were saying. Don't look backwards, move forward. And I was ready to move forward. And I told them, I said, as long as Wake Baptist stay on 302 East Main Street.
Ms. Phillips, in today's society, what advice would you give to young people growing up now?
In today's society, both black and white, go to church and Sunday school, stay out of trouble, go to school and get an education. Go as far as you can go. If you can get a doctor's degree in whatever field you go in, get it. But don't forget where you come from. Don't get too high and mighty. Because the same people you meet going up, you might meet them same people coming down.
Good advice. Ms. Phillips, it's been a pleasure sitting with you today and talking with you. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't know when this goes out, when they come on the TV, I might get some calls, but you know what? It won't scare me a bit.
I don't think anybody will be upset.
Well, I had to tell it like the way you know me, if it's a spade, I'm going to call it a spade. You know that.
I know.
You've been dealing with me long enough to know that.
Yes, ma'am. I think it was a good interview.
Well, I don't know. I may talk too much, but I just have to say what I think. And sometimes it's not good to do that, but I do it. I can't help it. It's in me.
And at 88, it don't matter anyway.
And at 88, it don't matter. You got that right. The ones that think I'm say things too harsh, just wait till they live to get 88. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I appreciate you all coming down there. I don't know who's gonna look at this on TV. I might get some calls, but I tell you what, I got some answers for them.